I definitely had a better success rate with the applications with the program than what I was doing by myself, even though I was using the same resume and everything. My experience of going through the program, I would say it was well worth it. The onboarding was great. In the end, I got the result that I was hoping for.
Somebody who is struggling in the market, what would be the top two things you would say? The following is a conversation with our client Ashish, who landed a senior product manager role. When he approached us, his primary consideration was to move outside of the railroad industry in which he was stuck in to more fast-paced environments. What especially made it challenging was translating his experience, because he was working as a CTO at a startup. But when we really thought about it, we pretty much narrowed down his expertise, which translated best for taking tech products to new markets. And so he was getting into the product management realm. The problem with the product management space is it's one of the most saturated ones in the job market. So that took a lot of thought on our side, a lot of effort on our side, but that said, we landed him a successful outcome. He especially valued the done for you support with our services and the expertise that we brought in to effectively convey his experience into the right markets, eventually landing him a desired role and comp outside of the railroad industry. And the job search took about somewhere around 5 to 6 months, which is typical. So without further ado, let's crack right into it. Hey, good afternoon, Ashish.
Hi, Varun. How are you doing?
Doing well, doing great. There we are. Ashish, I can't tell you like how happy I am, because this is probably like throughout anybody's journey, this is one of the best part. The offboarding call is the one I enjoy the most. I'm happy to be having that with you.
Yeah.
So did you end up signing the offer and everything?
Yeah, it's all done. I signed the offer. Some onboarding paperwork is also done. They're doing the background check, which takes a week or so to get back, but I mean, that's fine. No issues there. And definitely thanks a lot for your and the entire team for the help. It was a learning experience for me as well. I definitely took away good pointers on. This was my first time finding a job by myself. I was fortunately have have been extremely lucky in the past, and opportunities just came to me. This was my first time actively going out and finding one, so it was a learning process for me and definitely worked out well.
Nice. The other thing, like one of the things I saw, I know when once we initially connected, and of course, like we have known each other for quite some time. One of the things I want to get a sense of is like, hey, as once you become our client and throughout that journey, and so you're coming in from a perspective of like, hey, like you said, this is the first time you're finding the job, so you have your own journey, you have your own thought process around that, and then you get some support from our team as well. I want to document is like, hey, what that support, like how it was helpful.
Yeah.
So then B is like, when I see your transition, by the way, it's so seems like your earlier, once you started your career here, it was more organic, and your growth was super organic as well as like very steep. So that was good. One of the challenges I remember our first call was like, so in my head, I was thinking like, okay, how do I translate? Because you were acting as a CTO, and like, how do I translate this to a role that would be, that would be something that we can go and find out in the market.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts there? And then I'll tell you what my perspective was at that point. But like, what was your thought there? Like, hey, I'm currently serving as a CTO. What is it like I want to look for in the market next?
Yeah, I'll start with the first part of the question. Overall, first, why I looked to have the service, or to get help with the processes. I hadn't done this myself before, so I definitely needed help with the resume, the outreach, all of that. And B, simply, I didn't have the time back then to do it. And doing it properly takes a lot of effort. Doing it casually is, easy. So I didn't have the time to do it properly, and that's why I wanted to get help. So that was my starting trigger to want to get help. And then my experience of going through the program, the onboarding was great. In the end, I got the result that I was hoping for. So overall, if I just have to say, I would say it was well worth it. And I got the value that anyone would look to get from a program like this. The whole process of Slack and Notion works smoothly. That's great.
So when we were translating, okay, what you do as a CTO currently, because it would be either we go to next CTO role, but the change that we were looking for was like the nature of work that you were doing. We ended up like
Yeah.
finding out like, okay, this translates more to a product management.
Yeah.
And the product management being especially challenging job search. Why? Because like there's so many product managers and there's like
Yeah.
people get so specific about that. I
Yeah.
believe like we had like our back and forth around that as well. But and this is where I also saw the pattern. Like if you look at all of the results that we got, like the industry, the product, or the nature of the product, or
Yeah.
like even the stage. So like, hey, are you moving this product into a new market, and that was something
Yeah.
that you had done. Like
Yeah.
they were coming down to that level and
Yeah.
aligning that. And so that like with your case, the struggle was not a matter of like, can we demonstrate the value, because you of course had like amazing experience to back it up, or neither the struggle was in translating, but more so because you come from a unique advanced technology and like industrial technology background, which
Yeah.
is like, you look at product manager for software guys, there's like
Yeah.
tons and tons of roles. For
Yeah.
your case, it's just like, and to be honest, and this I believe could be communicated much better, is while we are committed to finding more roles, like adding more volume, and you would be fine with that response of like, hey, we didn't add volume because we didn't find enough roles, because there was no
Yeah.
point spinning the wheels in software style
Exactly.
roles. And I can totally see like how as a customer it would lead you astray in terms of like, hey, because and I recognize that in general, where like especially a process that lasts like months and months long,
Yeah.
it's important to have your buy-in. One thing that we loved working with you about was like, one of the things that of course whoever gets the results, one consistent thing that we have seen is like those guys have been super proactive in like doing their part. And
Yeah.
it was, if I must say, it was lovely, like with the speed and with the precision with which we got responses and like updates from you, like you were an ideal customer to work with, to be honest. So that part the entire team enjoyed as well. But like, let's just say like somebody who is in your shoes and you have been through a job search journey, not necessarily just with us, but more so like it has been your own journey. What, for somebody who is struggling in the market, what would be the top two things you would say to them?
Yeah, it's a big question. I'll also try to loop in the CTO change and what the transition process looked like for me there, which was you also brought up. So first of all, like working with the team, there was a lot of things done right, of course. So we did, I think, 60 or so applications until now. Over, we started the process in late July, early August. Uh, so 15 on average a month, and that was average. It was not like it went up or down. And I was also just on my level reaching out to my network, directly sending applications, that were not going through this program. I definitely had a better success rate with the applications with the program than what I was doing by myself. So that speaks to the effectiveness, or that the program is more effective than even though I was using the same resume and everything, but just how I was selecting those roles was maybe, not ideal. And I was purposefully shooting for more aspirational things by myself. So so the best thing for me was how the applications or the roles were picked, and they did seem like to be better, closer fits, or at least we refined them to be that, so that that's the case. So team was great there, providing outreach, custom messages, including the necessary experience, facts, numbers, like all of that was also very helpful, because it will take any individual a lot of time to do that over and over again for 60 applications. Now, going to the CTO part, it was tricky for me, I realized, because the growth was organic and the career progression was steep because I was growing with a small company. So it was more like the company was growing under me. And I was just already there in the right place at the right time. And when we started looking for jobs, it became clear to me that, let's say, I could have gone for, if we shot for director level positions or senior director or VP type positions, then I was competing with a totally different crowd. If we take Hexagon as an example, that was a director product management role. All things considered, I have 7 years of experience, since out of grad school. So, and people did discuss or mention this even during the interviews. Oh, wow, you have a really steep progression so far. But I mean, I'm answering all your questions, so why do you care?
Yeah.
But when it really comes to making that decision, especially in a big company that tends to be more conservative in their hiring process because there's a lot of stakeholders, a lot of check boxes have to be, fulfilled and stuff. If I'm going for a director product management position, I would assume there's also candidates with 15 years experience, 12
Oh,
years
yeah.
experience, MBAs, all of this, uh, for the same position. So even though I might do great, it becomes very hard to justify hiring me, especially coming from a small company background. So I thought that was the case with Hexagon because there was nothing in the interview process that raised any question marks or red flags, and I got really positive feedback in the interviews. Um, and so that led me to believe that I should, it will be harder, it will take more time. Not that I lost hope or anything, but it will take time. And it will have to be with a smaller company, which ACV is. It's like 2,000 people. And fast growing company just coming out of a startup mode because these are the companies who maybe don't have the budget to hire the 15-year professional, or they want some more dynamic people and they value the startup experience
Yeah.
and not a career executive.
I think it's the latter, not necessarily that they don't have a budget.
Okay. Yeah, so that's where the fit with ACV was great as well. Now, coming to the job itself, is there was certain personal criteria that I had for my next position, which is I was much more flexible with the kind of job I would be willing to take for two reasons. First was I wanted to get out of the railroad industry because I find the industry to be very slow, which is right for, if people value that, but I didn't right now. I wanted something more fast paced. So I wanted to get out of that industry. And second was, as you are familiar, we are trying, Vivek and I are trying to do something of our own as well. So, although it's not big, not very time consuming, but I wanted something that will give me the flexibility to also focus on that. So, that's where I was willing to make a compromise. And I think ACV allows for that. It does give me, I do take a small, maybe like 10% pay cut compared to my last role, but I get to transition out of railroads. I'm in a fast growing company and I get the flexibility to keep working on my thing. So that's why I chose it.
That's great, and I feel like you are right in that those director level positions. I mean, I would say, I would argue that if you get the interview for those director level positions, the journey from there is easier. The challenge with those director level, VP level positions was like getting that interview in the first place. So,
Yeah.
I like because we have had similar experiences at other places as well. We already knew like, hey, we can try making 100 applications, nothing will come out of that. Let's focus on the ones that where we can make that thing. Again, this goes back into the point where like, hey, we could have communicated this with you. But that said, the why like if it, because I know I've talked to you about like prepping for those interviews. I talked to you about the jobs search process as well. Like I feel like if once you are sitting in the across from a hiring panel, given enough interviews, it's not like you could not have landed a director or senior director level role. That's
Yeah.
that part is easier. It's
Yeah.
getting to those like getting for someone to be able to trust, and this is where like this product management in general becomes a harder thing, and that's why like these custom outreach messages were most crucial. I was like, hey, you gotta cut through every like all the noise and just hit somebody in the head like, okay, it's worth talking to me right now.
Yeah.
And if you, and this was especially the challenge in your case, like typically if you go the traditional job applications and recruiter selecting your experience, they immediately see a CTO and then they see a 7 years of experience, and they are more conservative in their approach. Like they follow check boxes, and those are not the guys who are going to move you to the next round. So something had to be bypassed, and that's perhaps that helped work out. So lastly, like how do you plan to celebrate and like move on? When do you join and how do you celebrate?
The joining is on 16th January, so we still have almost 3 weeks until then. Celebration, I mean, nothing crazy or outrageous. We will see. I mean, the business part is still ongoing, so it's not like I have a crazy time off or something like this. I'm still working on the things.
Welcome to being in the 30s. Nothing crazy celebration, no hardcore partying, but it's just like, yeah, I'll relax maybe a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is a little bit of a pressure off the mind in terms of this was a project. The project is now done, and now I'm not only done. I mean, I'm also excited about starting because automotive. This is an automotive space, and I'm just generally interested in that sector. Cars and getting to work in that sector would be fun. So yeah, I'll just relax, have fun with family, friends locally for next 2-3 weeks, and then get going very soon.
Nice.
I do want to recharge because once the job starts, even though it's fully remote, I will be double loaded with the business and the job thing. So it will get very hectic very quickly.
Yeah. No, 100%. And great to hear that. It was pleasure working with you.
So much again, and please convey my thanks to the whole team as well.
Indeed, of course. And stay in touch and all the best, Ashish. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too. Bye.